Today we're going to be talking about what makes a Division I quarterback. We're going to talk about what college coaches look for in quarterbacks and how you guys can improve on those specific areas of your game. Also, we're going to include some information on the exact height and weight that you need to be a Division I quarterback. Now, as a quarterback, there are 4 things I would say that a Division I level college coach is looking for when he's scouting you, whether that's on film, whether that's in person. And the first one is going to be arm strength and arm talent. So what does that mean? They need you to be able to make college level throws. So what's a college level throw? That's like you're on the left hash and you're throwing a 15 back to 12 yard comeback to the field, right? This is like you're on the right hash, and let's say you're a right-handed quarterback, you're throwing a 10-yard timing speed out to the field, to your left, to your weaker side. Those are college level throws that they expect you to make. So you need to have that arm strength and have the accuracy, aka arm talent, to put the ball on the money. And you need to showcase that on film. Second thing is going to be extend playability. And before I get into the rest of this list, you guys, we're going to give you ways that you can improve all this stuff. So don't worry about it. We're going to talk more in detail about each aspect of this position. But now, second thing, like I said, they want to make sure that you have extend playability. That doesn't mean that you need to be Lamar Jackson, run for 80 yards, score a touchdown, but you got to be able to buy time for yourself in the pocket, extending plays, moving right, stepping back, stepping up, being able to throw on the run, extending plays, be a playmaker. Now, why do I say that? Because the quarterback position is one of the most competitive positions in all of sports. And I wish I would have known this because I could have structured my film a little bit differently when I was in high school to showcase to recruiters. Because guys, if you're just sitting there in the pocket, clean pocket, and you're throwing wide open routes, there are thousands of quarterbacks that can make those exact same types of throws, but there's not thousands of quarterbacks who could step up, get out of the pocket, buy some time. Look up any 5-star quarterback that is getting recruited this year, 4-star, even a 3-star guy that's going to these D1 Power 5 schools. On film, they can extend the play. So that's what you have to showcase. Third thing I would say is football IQ. Got to be able to know how to read a defense. And we're going to talk more about that as this video goes on. But you got to know different coverages, what the weaknesses of those coverages, what defenders you should look at. And then last but not least, you got to be a leader. And if you're not a leader, if you can't elevate the play of the guys around you, then you are not cut out for the position. Now, before we get into some specific ways that you can improve those 4 elements of your game that college coaches are looking for, guys, if you're a QB and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below where you can get access to our 13 QB wide receiver camp tour. Guys, we're coming out to 13 different locations, so check out that very first link in the description below if you'd like to sign up to work with us. We're going to be coming out to Las Vegas, Nevada next, Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, Charlotte, North Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, Chicago, Illinois, Buffalo, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Detroit, Michigan, Boise, Idaho, and Los Angeles, California. So guys, if you want to come out to one of those cities, travel into one of those cities to work with myself and my staff, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you there. Let's get back to this video. Now, like we mentioned, one of the main things that Division I college coaches look for in quarterbacks is arm strength. Now, your arm strength has to do with 2 specific things, and we're going to talk about both of those. So the first one is going to be your mechanics, and the second one is going to be what you're doing in the gym, quarterback-specific exercises to improve your throwing mechanics. So we're going to talk about both of those things. So let's start with the mechanical sequence first. As a quarterback, you want to be able to generate power from your lower body, so your legs, your hips, and your core. That's where your power comes from. It's not going to come from your arm. Arm strength does not actually come from your arm. It comes from the timing of your hips and your legs driving your upper body through the throw. So let me explain further. So when I go to throw, it's all about your throwing sequence. There's 4 specific parts. The first part is your base. You want to have about 60 to 65% of your weight loaded onto your back leg. Now, why do we want to be in this position? Because you want to be able to take this weight and you want to be able to shift that weight to your front foot so your hips, your core, your legs can drive through to the target. And again, it's the same thing on a deep ball, just the angle of your shoulders change because obviously, if you have a strong arm, that appeals to Division I college level coaches. So that's the first thing is your base. Now, you don't want all that weight to transfer through all at once because that prevents you from getting something called torque. And torque is what increases your arm strength. Let me explain. So torque comes from separating your lower body from your upper body. You want to think of it like a baseball hitter. Baseball hitter, like a golfer, they all generate torque just like how a quarterback would. So let's say I'm in the batter's box, pitcher throws me a pitch, I step to the pitcher with my front foot, but I keep my weight loaded back. I keep the baseball bat here. So now my hips can fire through, separating my lower body from my upper body, creating a whip, aka torque, to hit that ball. Same thing as a quarterback. That's that twitch that you see so many quarterbacks have and that arm talent that so many quarterbacks have. Because when they have that weight on their back leg, that allows them to rotate their shoulders back. A lot of quarterbacks will push forward And now when all my weight's forward, look how hard it is for me to rotate my shoulders. But when my weight's back, I can rotate my shoulders. So when you're in that 65% back base, what you can do is you can take the second part of the sequence, which is a stride. You want a short stride so your feet are inside of your frame, right? But when you take that short stride, you can keep the weight back. You can separate your hands. You can go back with the ball. So now what can happen? I drive. I transfer through after the stride, separate from the shoulders. So I go here, hips, core, legs all drive through, shoulders and ball trail behind, but that creates a whipping effect, which will help you with arm strength, right? So that's in a sense what quarterbacks are looking for, or quarterback coaches are looking for in terms of your throwing mechanics. Now, what are some exercises that you can do to work on that? Maybe you're a quarterback and you struggle. Like, let's say you could throw the ball 50 yards, but that's it. You cap out at 50, you don't know what you can do, you feel like you have good mechanics. How can I throw it further than that? That's what we're gonna talk about next. Now, in the gym, there are 3 things that I feel quarterbacks need to emphasize to help them with their throwing sequence and their throwing mechanics. Like I said earlier, let's say you're stuck at 40 yards, 50 yards, and you want to get more distance on the ball, you want to get more velocity on the ball. First thing you should focus on, I would say, is your leg strength, right? Because remember, what was the first part of my throwing sequence? I got to have 65% of my weight loaded onto my back leg. Now, the stronger my legs are, the more energy, or the more weight, I guess you could say, I'm going to be able to transfer through to my front foot. So I recommend all quarterbacks getting a squat rack. They do a lot of single leg exercises like single leg pistol squats. Maybe they do like split squats where their foot's up on a bench and they squat down. All those things are great for QBs. Now, as a quarterback, we're rotational athletes, right? We generate a lot of rotational force from my core and from my hips. So doing any type of core exercise as a quarterback is going to help you tremendously, right? So Russian twist, you get an ab wheel, rolling out an ab wheel, you're doing V-ups, doing anything to work on your obliques, your side walls. All those things are going to help you as a quarterback and as a passer. Not to mention, that will also help you stand with a good posture in the pocket, which helps with rotation in a whole. Also, strengthening your lower back is very important. I'm not saying to do heavy deadlifts, but maybe you do like a single arm, RDL, whatever the case may be, but something for your lower back and your core will help you in all aspects of rotation. Now, last thing I recommend is explosive movement. So I recommend a lot of plyometrics for quarterbacks because, like, when you drop back, and let's say I'm taking a 3-step drop, I go 1, 2, 3. As soon as I hit that 3rd step, I got to be able to drive. I take a drop, I hitch up. As soon as I hitch up, I got to be able to drive. So that activates fast twitch fibers in my body. So doing exercises in the gym like plyometrics, any type of explosive Olympic lift, those things activate fast twitch fibers in your body as well. And the more fast twitch fibers you have, a more explosive athlete you're going to be. And college coaches look for that explosive whip in your arm, and all of those things will directly translate to that throwing sequence. Now, one of the other things that a college coach is going to look for in a quarterback is your football IQ. Are you able to read defenses? Are you able to diagnose coverages? What are some things that you could do to work on that? So why is knowing coverages important in the first place? Because let's say you're a quarterback and maybe you lack some athleticism, right? You're trying to find a way to compete and separate yourself, because that's ultimately what recruiting is about. How can I separate myself from the thousands of other quarterbacks across the country? And how can I, let's say you are getting actively recruited by schools, how can I separate myself from quarterbacks that are already on that school's like recruiting list, right? Because you look at some of the top tier, like 5-star quarterbacks, they're all insane athletes. They're tall, 6'4", have a cannon of an arm, can extend plays, they're very fast. Like, these athletes get better and better every year. How can you, as just like an average dude, like 6'1", 6'2", like not crazy fast, maybe not the strongest arm in the world, but you get the ball there, how can you separate yourself? And it's up here. If you know what a defense is going to do before they actually do it, that gives you an advantage as a quarterback. So you got to know coverage responsibilities. What's the safety's responsibility in cover 2? What's the corner's responsibility in cover 2? What's a linebacker's responsibility in Tampa 2? There's so many different elements of a defense that you can understand as a quarterback, so you know exactly where to exploit with the offensive play concept that we have. And it also can give you the freedom to change the play and put your offense in the right position to be successful. So now, what can you do to work on those things? So we have something on our website where we offer 600 different videos for quarterbacks specifically on how you can read defenses and improve your football IQ. What I'll do is I'll put a clip up on a screen, I'll highlight the different coverage looks, we'll talk about what the coverage is and the different weaknesses of the coverage, and then I'll show a play from either a high school team, NFL team, college team that works against that coverage, and then I'll break it down and explain it for you. So we have 600 videos all like that, all from the quarterback's perspective, and it teaches you how to read defense. So guys, if you want information on that, how you can get access to that, check out that second link in the description below of this video. The second link there, it'll say how to read defenses. Guys, that's where all the information is if you want to improve your football IQ and become a better quarterback. Now, before we get into the average height and weight for a Division I level college quarterback, I want to talk about leadership and confidence, which are two things that I feel that a college coach wants to see in a player. Now, honestly, leadership, it's all about just elevating the play of the guys around you, right? Like usually as a team, you're usually as good as your quarterback, right? Like you look at a team like, like maybe like the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's use them for an example, right? Like I don't think they win the Super Bowl. I don't think they've gone on the run that they go on without Patrick Mahomes. I think if they have somebody else, like let's say, not to knock Trevor Lawrence, I like Trevor Lawrence, but let's say it's Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if that team does what they have done with Trevor Lawrence taking snaps. I really don't. So as a quarterback, you want to set the tone of the entire team. You want to elevate the play of the guys around you. So how can you do that, right? Because it's a very kind of easy thing for somebody to say. I would say it comes with chemistry and putting in the time with your guys. Like if you are making sure that guys are lifting in the gym, like let's say everybody's probably got off-season winter workouts with their team. If you were making sure and holding guys accountable to do their reps, to do the things in the gym, if you were making sure that guys are running their routes correctly, holding them accountable, putting in extra time after practice, putting in extra time on the weekends, having player run practices, all those things obviously showcase your leadership abilities. And who do you think is going to see that? Your high school head coach. And who's the first person that a college coach comes to talk to when recruiting a player? It's not you. It's not your 7-on-7 coach. It's not your trainer. It's not the principal of your school. It's your high school head coach. If your high school head coach can vouch for you in that respect, that is a huge positive in a college coach's eye. So please do not neglect the leadership element of the position. Now, when it comes to height and weight for a quarterback, height is one of those things that it helps you, but it's not a necessary evil. So what do I mean by that? There are tons of exceptions to the rule, right? You look at a guy like Bryce Young, look at a guy like Kyler Murray, you look at a guy like, Baker Mayfield, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson. All those guys are undersized. All those guys are on the shorter side of things, but they were still able to make it work, right? So as a quarterback, there's still hope for you. If you're 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", it's not the end of the world. You can still play. There's some certain aspects of your game that you need to have that will help you stand out to a college level coach. But being tall can only help you, obviously, right? But if you're 6'5" and you suck, you still suck. It does not matter. If you're 5'10" and you're the best quarterback around, you're still the best quarterback around. So height is not something that you can control, so you shouldn't worry about it. But you got to understand that if you are undersized, there are a couple aspects of your game that you need. Number one, you need a little bit of speed. You don't need to be the fastest guy on the field, but you need to be able to extend the play and buy some time for yourself. I shouldn't say speed. I should say more so like mobility in the pocket or the ability to extend the play. Let's say, for example, you drop back, you're short. I'm a short guy too. I understand what you're going through. You can't see the field. Like if you just try to sit there, you're not gonna be able to see anything. So you have to be able to take a snap, buy some time, move around, step up in the pocket, just to be able to locate a receiver. And you got to play the position differently than the 6'4" guy who could just kind of stand there and go through his reads and deal. So that's one thing. Number two, you got to have a lightning fast release because again, like you said, if you sit there for forever, not gonna be able to see, you're not gonna be able to throw over anybody. And you don't throw over anybody as a short quarterback. You play through windows, right? You got a window between your guard and your tackle, that's where you're throwing. So you gotta get comfortable with the quick release, gotta be able to extend the play, and you gotta be smart. If you don't know how to read defenses, you don't know where to go with the ball quickly, it's all tied together, you're not gonna be successful with the position. And that's what Kyler Murray, Bryce Young, all those guys have. If they lack, like crazy athleticism. Like Kyler Murray's got crazy athleticism. So he probably has a little bit easier than a guy like Drew Brees or a guy like Bryce Young. But those guys have lightning fast releases, they know where to go with the ball, and they're very smart. So that's one thing. Now, what about your weight, right? Weight obviously has a lot to do with height. I would say, like you're on the shorter side of things, maybe like 165, 170 pounds, maybe you're like 6 foot and above, 185 above. You want to be as heavy as possible, but still as athletic as possible at the quarterback position. You don't want to be fat, you don't want to be slow. So that's what I recommend. And if you really want to know, like if you have a school in mind that you'd like to go to, let's say it's USC, right? Go to ESPN.com, type in USC football roster. Every single quarterback on their roster, their height and weight will be listed. So if you want to see how you stack up against Division I level guys, that's what I recommend. But honestly, guys, height and weight is not the make or break point of a quarterback.